All right, guys, 6:35. I know it's a little bit late, but I guess we'll go ahead and get started now. So again, my name is Ashim Chanda. I'm the captain of FTC Team 1055 Extreme Voltage from Northern Virginia. And I have a quick presentation on how you guys can improve your fundraising. So this is a quick overview of all the different tactics that our team has used in the past that have been pretty successful to us, and some of the tactics that haven't been as successful. And we've also included a lot of details about some unique tricks and tips and tricks that you guys can use to just better your fundraising in general. All right, so let's get started. So first things first, we're going to talk about a quick agenda. First, we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals of fundraising. So that means all the basics of when you approach someone who can possibly give you money, how do you go about it, and what things should you be doing? Next, we'll go into a 501c3 nonprofit. So basically, what is that and how is that useful to me? So we'll talk a little bit about what the importance of a 501c3 nonprofit are, and talk a little bit about how that can help your team in general. Next, we'll dive a little bit deeper into about a ton of different fundraising methods. So this includes things from door-to-door campaigns and to approaching sponsors and local fundraisers, a ton of things. So I'll get more into detail on that, of all those different tactics as we go on in our presentation. And at the end of our presentation, we have a little bit about, if you're a rookie team, what are some of the special things that you can do. And then at the end, we'll just have a recap and overview, and then we'll go into Q&A. All right, so first things first, what are the fundamentals of fundraising? So one thing that I like to stress a lot is mutual benefit. So this concept basically means that whenever someone is donating money to you or they're helping you, you should also think about how you can help them in return. So for example, if you're working with a sponsor or a company, and if they're donating you $200 as a sponsorship, how can you benefit their company? And that could mean anything from, blasting about their company on your social media to hopefully get them more clients or help them make more money as a company. Or that could mean, putting flyers of their company at your booth at outreach events and stuff like that. So there are a ton of different ways that you can help their company. And also, you could get a plaque for them that says you guys are a sponsor for this FTC team or whatever. So there are a ton of different ways that you can sort of give back to your sponsors. And a quick example of that is how our team actually partnered with a local learning center. And the way we were able to work with them is they sort of started giving us sponsorships of around $500 every year. And we began hosting workshops with them. So we would use our social media platforms to sort of advertise for the workshops. And that way, that learning center would also gain some more students and more clients and gain their audience, while also us being able to host a workshop and getting sponsorship money as well. So it's like a really good deal for us that we were able to make money off the workshops, we were able to get our sponsorship money, and we were also able to help that company, that organization, get more students to as a part of their learning center. So next is explaining the use of your funds. And I think this is really, really important. A lot of teams miss out on this. So a lot of teams will just go up to a bunch of different companies and just ask for money. But something really important that you have to keep in mind is you always have to share with the company or the person or the organization what the funds that you're getting will be used for. And this is really important for anything, because anytime you're going to ask someone for a donation, their number one question will be, why do you need this money, or what are you going to use it for? So that means you should probably have some sort of documentation on, this is what our budget looks like, this is what we use our funds for, this was how we used our funds last year, and this is how we're going to do it next year or this year. So that sort of helps companies be like, okay, I'm helping this team buy parts for their robot, I'm helping them with tournament registration, hotel costs, or whatever else your team uses their funds for. And I think that's something you should share with your sponsors. The next thing is to keep an open mind. And this is also something that's really important. Keeping an open mind basically means that anywhere you go, anytime you meet anyone else, you have to keep in mind that they or someone they know probably work for a company, or are part of an organization or some place that could possibly give you money. And what that means is you should always be aware and sort of ready to give the plug for your FTC team and just be like, hey, by the way, I'm part of a robotics team and we need funds. So if you could give us a sponsorship, that'd be nice. So basically, anytime you go to, like, let's say, an outreach event or like let's say you're going to a local fundraiser or something like that, and you happen to meet someone who seems interested in what you guys are doing, you should also give the plug that, by the way, we're looking for sponsors. So here's some information about our team if you want to read more, and also visit our website here. Hand them a brochure, hand them a business card, and try to make that connection. So one example for our team is we met someone from a company at, like, we were just standing outside a restaurant and just showing off our robot and asking for donations as people came by. And we met this one person who seemed really interested in this robotics thing. So after some conversation, we found out that they actually worked for a local company. It was a small business, and they were willing to sponsor us. So after some emails, and we sent them our sponsorship package and stuff like that, they were ready to sponsor us. And I think that is something you should always have an open mind for. And it works the other way around too, that sometimes you might be working with a company that sponsors you, and then all of a sudden one of their employees wants to mentor you and work with you guys like every week. So that mentor might come in handy one day and help you learn some cool programming trick, or help you fix up your business plan or something, and make you a better team overall. So you should always keep an open mind with these types of things. And lastly, I want to talk about these two attractors that are pretty key ways of getting money. So one is either you have to show that your team is in need. So that means that your team is like a rookie team, or you guys are in a low income area, or you guys all go to a school, or where you guys get free or reduced lunch, or something like that, where you have to show that you guys really, really, really need the money. And that's where companies will sort of be like, oh, so we're basically going to be helping this team stay alive. So that's another way that companies might seem attracted to you. Another way, and the opposite of that, is, of course, if you're a super successful team and you go up to a company and you're like, hey, look at all these medals on our chest. You see how we're so accomplished. And the companies will be like, wow, we want to work with such a big team. So that's the flip side of it. So then you share all your awards and all your accomplishments and everything you've done over the past years. And so there are like two sides of that coin that you have to really choose one, and that's going to help that company be a little bit more interested in you. So yeah. Next up, we have 501c3 nonprofit. So first off, what is a 501c3 nonprofit? That is basically a status that's given to you by the IRS that says you guys are basically certified that you guys are not using these money to buy groceries for yourself. You guys are not using these for personal profit, but it's rather for a nonprofit cause. And with that status that you get is kind of important, because with that, you can show that to companies or people that you're meeting, and that'll make them, again, a little bit more interested in you. So that firstly helps you get tax deductible donations. So that means that sponsors, when they give you, or companies, when they give you money, they want to get that off on their on their tax returns. So that way, if you're a nonprofit, that makes it so that the company will want to donate to you because you're a nonprofit, so they can write that down on their tax returns, and it'll be better for them as a company. So, and of course, that leads to more sponsors because more companies are willing to donate to you. Next is grant eligibility. So once you have this 501c3 nonprofit, you're automatically accessible. You're automatically you're able to access more grants that are out there. So a lot of huge companies have these grants that are out there that, you just have to write up a little essay on why you guys need funds, or what you guys do, or stuff like that. And these companies are literally willing to just give you free money. So that can come really in handy, especially if your team is, once you guys are a nonprofit, because now there are a ton more places that would be willing to get you these funds through these grants. Next is fundraiser accessibility. So as an example of that, it's kind of hard to explain, but as an example, I'm sure you guys all know about Chipotle. Chipotle does fundraisers for nonprofit organizations that you can host like a fundraiser night at their location. And basically from that, anyone who comes in to Chipotle that day and says, hey, I'm here for this nonprofit, they'll say, okay, and they'll mark it down, and then 20% or 33% of those profits go to your organization. So again, free money, just sitting there. All you need to do is have that nonprofit status. And you can get that by either filling out the forms on your own and doing it with an adult, or by partnering with an organization, a nonprofit in your area that already exists. So you could probably look around and find something that are focused on towards STEM or whatever. But through that, you might want to partner with an existing nonprofit or start one on your own. And that also depends on how long your team is planning on staying around. If this is your last year competing, then I'm not sure that there's much value in starting a nonprofit just for this last year. So you might want to just partner with an organization for this last year of yours. Otherwise, if you're going to be around for another 3, 4, 5 years, you probably want to consider getting that nonprofit status. That'll help you a lot in the long run. And finally, we have donation matching. So what that means is a lot of companies are willing to give you money based on how much like an adult or an employee at their company donates to a nonprofit. So for example, let's say there is a nonprofit called the STEM nonprofit, and a parent mentor on your team donates $200 to this STEM nonprofit. So now that parent's company can also say, oh, this parent, my employee donated $200, so I will also give you $200. And that's kind of hard to believe, but that exists. So, and again, that's not for all companies, but a lot of companies will do that. So again, you should probably look around, check out companies' websites and see if they're willing to do that kind of donation matching. Because if their employees are willing to donate you even like $50, you get another $50 for free. So again, free money. Next is sponsors. Sponsors are, of course, one of the biggest ways to get money because they are free sources of money that you don't have to do much to get. One thing I really want to emphasize is a really easy way to get sponsors. A really easy way to get sponsors is by having those parent connections. So you'll see a lot of big name teams out there that have, sponsors with Apple or Booz Allen Hamilton or Northrop Grumman or some huge companies. And the key to that is that they have parents or mentors that work at those companies. So what that allows them to do is through that connection, that team is able to get access to that company's public relations person. And through that, it's a lot easier to get sponsorships. So again, anytime you have new team members joining, or you are, you guys are already a team or whatever, ask everyone, where do your parents work, and try to figure out a list of all those companies that might be able to give you some money. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with just shooting out some emails and seeing what happens. That leads us to our next one, which is email campaigns. These are pretty huge, but they require some time on your part. So what this basically means is writing up a template, like a template that says, hello, blank, my name is blank from team blank, and we are a robotics team based in this area. We are looking for funds to be able to help our this, and this. And, just elaborating sort of on what FIRST is, what FTC is, what your team does, some of your team's accomplishments, maybe just, a nice email template. You take that email template, you hit copy, you hit paste, and you just send that email to every company in like your entire region in like a 50-mile radius. Like just go crazy with it. Send out as many emails as possible, because you might think that every company will just like respond to your emails, but that is definitely not the case. At least in my experience. It's really difficult for companies to respond to you. So the first thing is just, if you send out 100 emails, of that, maybe 30 companies will actually respond to you. And of those 30, like 20 will just say no, 10 might say yes, and then 5 of them will actually follow through with it. So it's like, you really have to like just stay persistent and just email as many people as possible. If you're a school-based team, this especially applies to you, but you also want to check what local businesses or organizations work with your school. Because there may be some companies or restaurants in your area that work with your school or your school sports teams, and through that you can probably email them, be like, hey, we're a school-based team, or some of our members go to the school, and the company will probably be more inclined because they've already worked at that school in the past. So that's another thing that you should keep in mind when you're sending these emails out. And again, please show off that 501c3 nonprofit status because companies love that. If in this top of your email you say we are robotics team this and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, companies will just like pick up their ears and they'll be way more listening to what you're when you're asking them for a sponsorship. And when you send them emails or when you're asking them to sponsor you, you also want to ask for maybe in-person visits or showcases of your robot. So you might be able to go in and do a presentation for that company and some of their employees and show off your robot, show off some of the work you do. And first off, that's a free outreach. So that's pretty good. But that also helps build a better relationship with that company's employees. So that's possible mentors as well to your team. And also next year, again, sponsorship. So be sure to keep in mind that long-term relationship that could really come in handy for you later on. You also want to keep in mind how you can help them. And again, this is something that's really important regardless of who's giving you the money. But you should have in mind, like, when this company donates me sponsorships, we will be like, you should have maybe a sponsorship tier list that if you donate $200 to $500, you are a bronze tier sponsor. If you donate $500 to $750, you are a silver tier sponsor. And if you donate $750 to $1,000, you're a gold tier sponsor. And anything above $1,000 is a platinum sponsor. And then those sponsorship tiers have their own benefits. So if a company only gives you $100, they're only going to get, their logo on your website, or they're only going to get their logo on your brochures or something. But then if they donate $250, they're going to get the logo on the brochure, but they're also going to get their logo on your website and your robot. And then if they're a gold sponsor, then they might get all three of those things. Plus, you'll give their brochures to people at outreach events and stuff. So again, having that tier list can really come in handy because you can find more sponsors that might be willing to give you more money that way. So yeah. Next is a little bit smaller scale, but these are just basic donations and sales. So for example, you could just do a common bake sale. So that means contacting a supermarket or a place like Walmart or Target and asking basically if you can stand outside their store and just say, hi, we are this robotics team, and check out what our robot can do and have like a demo or something going on. And then just sort of talk to people and try to collect donations that way. So these can really vary in effectiveness. And again, these require really strong marketing. Like you have to be putting this out there on every social media platform that exists and making sure you're keeping a good following. But again, they're a little bit difficult to predict. For example, if it rains that day, no one's going to be out. So you probably won't raise as much money. Through this, like as an example of this, we talked to our local Giant, their store manager, and they were willing to let us stand outside for a few hours and just, say, hey, donate money to our team. This is robotics. We're cool. So through that, a lot of people were like, oh, this looks really interesting. My son actually does robotics, and, we were able to build some personal connections and also get some money. So I think in just like around 3 or 4 hours, we were able to make around $300, $200. So it can be really profitable, but it depends. And again, this requires some man hours. So you need people from your team that are willing to be there for quite a few hours and just stand there talking about robotics for that long on a weekend or something like that. So this can be a little tricky to implement, but it can be pretty easy to do and profitable. So next is door-to-door campaigns. So this is basically when you're trying to sell something or you're trying to just ask for donations by literally knocking on someone's door and saying, hey, we are this robotics team and we need we are this successful and we're looking for funds to be able to do this, this, and this. Are you interested in donating to us or buying X product from us? So for example, 2 years ago, our team made our own team's pens. So those pens were pretty nice quality. We bought them in bulk for around, I think, a few cents a piece. Like it was like 30 cents a piece. And we were able to go door to door and say, hey, would you like to give a donation? We have this pen that has our team name on it, and we'd love to, you can buy this from us for like $5 a piece if you would like to donate to our nonprofit or our robotics team. So a lot of people are just kind of be like, oh, that's so sweet. Here's $5 and they'll just take the pen or whatever. So again, that can vary a lot from your neighborhood or how many like hours you put in, but again, it can be really profitable. Our team made around $280 in profit, like within a week. It was pretty easy to do. Like we just gave all of our team members like 20 pens. They just went around their neighborhood and had to sell all of them. So it was kind of fun too. Like we just went around in pairs and just like knock on doors and say, hey, especially during the holiday season, this can be especially effective. So keep that in mind as well. But a thing with that is that it has limited amount of customers. Like you don't have an unlimited amount of doors to knock on. So once we did that 2 years ago or last year, um, we can't do that every single year. So I mean, it's limited in that sense. Next is workshops. So this is my personal favorite, and I think this is a huge opportunity to make a ton of money. So one major thing with this is, so like I was mentioning earlier, we partnered with a local learning center to host our own series of workshops. We were able to do that again, like we were able to do 2 or 3 of those in the summer, and then one over winter break, one over spring break. So through that, every camp, we use their advertising platforms, and they just sort of shoot out ads that, hey, this robotics team is doing this robotics workshop at our learning center on these days, and register here or whatever. And we were able to make around $2,000 per camp, $1,500 to $2,000 per camp. So again, it's not gonna be the same for everyone, but I think we got kind of lucky with it too. But if you can find companies that have maker spaces or some organizations or even some learning centers that would be willing to give you a shot to host a robotics workshop or like a STEM workshop or something, that's a pretty easy way to make a ton of money. Again, but these are kind of difficult to run because you're dealing with kids and everything, and you also need some, like at least 4 or 5 people from your team that'd be willing to contribute. So it gets a little tricky in that sense, but again, it's super profitable. So next is grants. Grants are, again, free money, and free money is the best money. Like, trust me when I say that. It's harder to get money when you're, if you have to work for it, like if you have to do a workshop or a camp, something like that. But filling out, there are literally forms online. You just fill out a form and like you're entered in a chance to get money. So keep those in mind. And basically what grants do is, so first, as an organization, provide some grants to rookie teams, and I think they have some for veteran teams. Not totally sure how it's going to work for this coming year, but I know in the past that some of our local teams some teams that we've started and stuff like that, they've been able to apply for these first grants and gotten like free $250 or $500 just because they're a rookie team or just because they're in a low income area, something like that. So keep that in mind. Always stay alert and keep looking for these types of things because you never know when an opportunity might just like pop up. So a lot of big corporations will do these types of grants. So for example, in my area, in Northern Virginia, there is the Amazon headquarters now. So I know that when Amazon has now started to roll out some grants. So now as a robotics team, I have the ability to reach out and say, hey, we're in Northern Virginia, which they'll be interested in because they're based in Northern Virginia too now. And I'll just say, hey, we're a robotics team, and then fill out their grant application or whatever. And now there's a chance that I could get quite a bit of money. And again, all I have to do is fill out a form, which makes it super easy for me. So when you fill out these forms, you really want to stress either, again, the fact that you need the money desperately, or that you're super accomplished and need the money to grow even bigger and international, or just, grow huger. So yeah. Next, so those are just a few tactics that you could use when you're fundraising as a team. And I think some of those were more successful than others, but again, it all depends on where you are and how, where your team is located and what things are in your area. So from a rookie point of view, this is more focused towards rookie teams, but this still applies to many veteran teams that are out there. So a big thing is you have to stress the fact that you're a rookie. When you say that you're a rookie, companies and individuals will be more inclined to donate to you because you guys are brand new and you guys are just getting started. They'll be like, oh, that's nice. You guys are a rookie team. We'll help you guys out. And I've seen that been kind of attractive to companies. So in my experience, you should probably say at the top of your email, we are a rookie team, rookie robotics team looking for funds. So, and being a rookie opens you up to a lot of grants. So first, again, has their own grants for rookie teams. So you should probably check that out if you're a rookie team or if you're planning on starting a new team. Because again, this is just free money that's just sitting out there waiting for you. So yeah, so being a rookie gets you those new grant opportunities and stuff. Oh, and again, when you're looking for grants, look for some of the companies that First has partnered with. Some of those big name companies like Northrop Grumman or Rockwell Collins or ARM. Those companies will have, since they have partnership with First, they know what to look for, sort of. So they know that FTC teams need money. So they usually have money. They usually have grants set aside that they can donate to certain teams that apply for those grants. So again, keep an eye out and just stay aware of those opportunities that are out there. Another thing is you should always just start big and just go right at it, hit the ground running right when you form a team. Just contact every local business, because smaller companies are usually more inclined to give you money sometimes. So keep that in mind as well. And again, reach out through parent contacts. I can't stress that enough. That's a huge thing that a lot of teams miss out on, that, you know, they'll find out a year later of working together that, oh, by the way, my dad works at X company. And it turns out that company gives out grants or sponsorships to local nonprofits and stuff. So again, keep your eyes open and always stay aware of, you know, how your parents' companies or your friends' parents' companies or parents' friends' companies might be able to benefit you. And a big thing for rookie teams is if you've done FTC before, you probably know this, but funds are always needed. Always. There's never going to be a point in time where an FTC team doesn't need any money, because there's always competitions coming up. There's always more parts to buy. There's always more equipment you can buy for your machine shop. There's always, you know, hotel costs. You can do team dinners. There's so much stuff to use your money on. So you should always be raising money. And absolute worst case scenario, you have money for next year. So there's never a time when you shouldn't be you should be fundraising year round, basically. And finally, if you're a rookie team and if you haven't done this already, create a business or sustainability plan that basically shows that, hi, we're a rookie team. We're looking for money so we can do this, this, and this. And next year we plan on doing these things. We want to spread awareness of STEM to kids in the disabled community. We want to spread awareness of STEM to the LGBTQ community. And, you know, you can just talk through that and sort of try to get, build a plan for your team as a whole. And that'll make companies more interested in your vision or in your organization as a whole. So that is all the main content I had for you guys. Again, please keep putting questions in the Slido link that was provided in the chat earlier. So as a quick recap, you really want to get a 501c3 nonprofit status, because that helps you get more sponsorships, more grants, and just opens up a ton of doors that you probably didn't even know existed. And those, you can either partner with an existing nonprofit or start one of your own. With sponsors, you really want to just shoot a ton of emails out. You want to use parent contacts. You want to keep an eye out for sponsors at fundraising events or anything like that. And then again, that leads to email campaigns. So you just want to shoot out, like a good example of email campaigns is you draft up an email in Google Docs, and then you open up a spreadsheet and you just make a giant list of like 200 companies in your area. And you make a list of all their contact emails and their contact representative or whatever, or their PR person, their public relations person, or whoever is their outreach person. And you just make that list of emails and you just hit copy email, put it in an email, copy the actual email body, paste that into the email, you know, edit the name, put in the company, modify the template basically, and then hit send, and then repeat that process. Just ask everyone on your team to send out 5 emails every week. And just if you get into that habit and just keep getting that thing rolling, you will just things will keep coming back, and you'll probably be able to collect a lot of money really fast. An example of that is one of the rookie teams that we started at a local high school. they were able to collect. They didn't need to pay a dollar of their own money because they were able to collect over $4,000 in sponsorships just by sending emails. Every single week, they'd just be sending 10, 20 emails. And I mean, the results really showed that. Like, they were constantly contacted by companies, and they said, they kept getting responses. They kept interacting with the companies, going after them, just sending 4 or 5 emails to the same company, just bothering them. But again, it's money that's out there, and you really got to work for it sometimes. So next is just general donations and sales. So that's just, the pretty common, just stand outside of Target and just, ask people like, hey, would you like to donate to our robotics team? We're a rookie robotics team looking for money. And some kind people might just walk by and be like, oh yeah, sure, here's $20 or whatever. So that adds up, and, you can get money through that. Then of course there's door-to-door campaigns. So, knocking door to door, either selling something or just asking for a donation. You never know what can happen. So you should keep an open eye for that. Next is workshops and camps. So this means, hosting a workshop. Now it can be an online workshop. So you can teach kids at your local elementary school how to build this cool thing with Legos, or you can teach them middle schoolers how to play around with 3D design. So, I mean, there are a bunch of opportunities out there. So keep an open eye for that. Like, you can just say like, $15 to, or $5 to enter into this quick workshop, and like an hour-long workshop. And, so keep an eye out for that, especially during this time and afterwards too. Then it's grants. So again, grants are free money, and I love grants because it's just, you just need to find someone who can write. Then once, you just keep looking for tons of companies. Then once a grant application comes out, you just fill out the form, hit submit, and who knows, you might get $500. And then there's, of course, rookie benefits, that if you're a rookie team, you want to flex that status. You want to show off to everyone that you guys are brand new, you guys are rookies, and you guys need help more than anyone. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And that's all I have, guys. So again, please fill out the feedback form. That'll be going out soon. And I think now we'll hop into Q&A. All right. So the first question I have is, how do you suggest making a small team, less than 5 people, more appealing to sponsors and donations? So again, I personally don't think that team size plays much of a difference in when you're asking for sponsorships and stuff. But I mean, so here's the thing: with larger teams, you have more access to more parents, you have more parent connections, and possibly more sponsors through that. But with a small team, if you present to the companies and you say we're a team of 3 middle schoolers, we're a team of 3 high school students, 4 high school students, that might make it interesting for companies. I honestly don't know about that one, but I'm pretty sure that could help you. So again, anything that's unique about your team, you probably want to share. So if you guys are based in a rural area where there's like no teams in like a 50-mile radius of your location, you're probably more attractive for companies because they don't get that request very often. Versus if you're in like a downtown city, there are probably other robotics teams that exist around you. So those types of big companies probably get that kind of request all the time. So keep that in mind when you're reaching out. So again, if you're a small team, definitely mention it, but I'm not sure exactly how much of a benefit they'll have. What kind of workshops do you guys do? I.e. summer camps, 1-day workshops, how much? Okay. For a camps workshops, what do you teach at the workshop? How much do you charge? How long do they last? So that varies a lot. That's a great question, but that varies a lot from the workshop to workshop. So we've hosted summer camps for the past 3 years. Those have been huge for us because that learning center it has been working with us for like 5 years now, and they're just really willing to help us out. So they advertise a lot for those camps on their social media and their network. So through that, we're able to get a huge platform. So in our specific scenario, they decide how much money they want to charge for their camp and stuff like that. So as a rough estimate for our camps, the way it works is we have we charge $250 per kid for 5-day summer camp, 9 to 5. So it's a, full day camp. And basically, it's around, that's like $50 a day. So, and with that $250 for each kid, we get around 20 students ish. So I think it's $5,000 ish. So sometimes, I mean, it varies a lot camp to camp. So with that, again, this is a pretty big learning center. So they are able to charge that much money. Even if you charge $100, that's still $50 per, I mean, you're still making a good amount of money for that. So the way we split it up with our sponsor is we get 50% of the funds and they get 50% of the funds, which, I mean, we're happy with. So yeah, it usually makes us a pretty good amount of money. So yeah. Should I set up a GoFundMe? Okay, so here's the thing with GoFundMes. GoFundMes can be very beneficial, but they vary a lot. You should always use a GoFundMe to fundraise towards a specific cause. So for example, if your team is fundraising towards buying a new laser cutting machine and that costs $2,000, you should be saying in your GoFundMe that we are a robotics team looking to buy a laser engraver. And then in the description say, we are going to use it for this, this, and this. In the past, we've used machinery to do this, this, and this. And, you really have to advertise, but it's really, really, really difficult to get a good amount of money from there. Like, of course, you might get some like $10, $20 donations from family members and just close friends and stuff. But it's difficult to get more than like $200, $300 in total from a GoFundMe. And again, that's after social media posts and just trying to blow it up. But again, it varies a lot situation to situation. So it might work for you. It's something worth trying. But in my experience, it has not been very successful at all. As a school-based team, we are able to use our school district's 501c3 status when applying to grants. Is there any reason to set up one for the team? Great question. So there are two primary teams. There's community-based teams and school-based teams. If you're a school-based team, you already have access to your schools through your school's nonprofit status. So you don't need a separate 501c3 because through your school, you already have a nonprofit. So basically with that, I personally don't see a need for making a nonprofit for yourself unless you're trying to grow it from beyond just a school robotics team to like this empire of like 10 robotics teams in your community, and you're trying to do a lot of huge things. So if you're trying to grow your team to become more as an organization and, make it a lot bigger, then you might want to think about it. But I mean, commonly it's pretty, like if you have a school, if your school's willing to share their nonprofit status with you, then I think you're pretty much set. You don't really need it. So what is the process to applying to 501c3 status? That's a great question. I'm not sure I'm the best person to ask that, for you to ask that to, but I know there are tons of resources online that you can find through Reddit and other forums that can probably teach you step by step how to apply for it. I know there's a process that you have to fill out a series of paperworks and forms through the IRS. So you probably want to talk to an adult mentor or coach about that because they'll have a much better idea than I would about actually filling out all the paperwork, because they require adults to do that stuff. So you probably want to talk to a coach or mentor on your team, or look online for guides on how to actually start or how to file for a 501c3 nonprofit. Sorry, I can't help you much there. What kind of subjects or areas are you teaching at the camps or workshops? What subjects have been popular, attract interest? That's a good question. So the way that we do it, and again, that's just us. The way we do it is we have sort of FTC focused workshops and FLL focused workshops. So this has been really, really like beneficial to us because through that, we're able to directly find kids who are interested in starting a team later on. But the gist of it is we'll spend a day introducing them to 3D design and giving them projects to work on, designing their own cars or designing their own tables, just giving them projects to work on throughout the day. We'll do a day on like Java programming, a day on Python, or like 2 days on that, something like that. So we'll give them experience with coding and programming. we'll spend a day on presentations. So we'll teach them how to structure like a trifold board, how to share everything, like what they've learned throughout the camp or stuff like that. So that's just something that's worked for us in the past. So again, that's more FTC focused because we're an FTC team, so we can pretty easily share what we do as an FTC team. So 3D design, programming, putting the parts together. So we'll bring like an old Tetris kit of parts and let the kids play around with that and put screws together and put the metal brackets and everything together. So again, that's just us, but that's one thing we've taught in the past. So you can also run catathons or hackathons if you'd like, as like one-day camps or one-day workshops. Those can also be pretty nice because you could probably ask for like a fee of like $25 entrance fee or something, and it goes to a nonprofit, so people will be like, okay, yeah, sure. And if you organize it well enough, I mean, it'll be a fun experience, and you'll might be able to find some experienced or skilled coders or cadders for your team. Next up, is fundraising the only way to make money for the team? No. I think, okay, so not 100% sure what you mean by that. But again, everything I covered in my presentation, that was all, a bunch of different fundraising strategies. That goes everything from sponsors to getting grants to doing door-to-door campaigns and sending emails. And that covers fundraising as a term, covers a broad range of things, right? So I guess in addition to that, you can also just ask parents to pay $100, $200 for their kid to be a part of the team, I guess. And have like an entrance fee for people to join your team, stuff like that. So that's another way that could work for you if you don't want to do any fundraising. But I mean, it's free money, so why wouldn't you want to do fundraising? Comment: school-based teams should check with the district about grants. My school system has huge restrictions regarding what grants my team can. Yep. So as a warning or as a note, if you are a school-based teams and community-based teams differ a lot. So if you're a school-based team, it's your school might have some restrictions, and that's actually a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. So as a school-based team, you want to make sure that your school allows you to find sponsorships, or your school allows you to get grants, or your school even allows you to share their 501c3 nonprofit status. So you want to make sure you get everything clear before you start pushing for funds as a school team. So school teams have benefits and like advantages and disadvantages. So it's kind of in the middle. So again, keep in mind your school's individual restrictions and everything like that. For camps, workshops, what do you teach? How much do you charge? Oh, I already covered this one. So again, 5-day workshops, 3-day workshops, or just 1 day like hackathons, catathons. Yeah, so excellent presentation, and thanks for sharing such valuable information. Wish we attended when we were starting our hockey team. So thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I wish the same. When our team was first starting out, we were struggling a lot with funds. So I'm glad I have enough experience to be able to share with other people now who are also struggling. My team and a few other FTC teams all share 503 as a robotics league. Should we go to companies as a collective or as single teams? That's another great question. So let me give a quick example. So basically there's a school in my area that has like 10 FTC teams just as their school, and an FRC team. They're huge on robotics. So what they do is they funnel all the funds to their high school robotics, their high school's 501c3, and through that they give each team a certain amount of money, which I don't personally like that method, but I mean, it depends on how you guys are working together. So even if you share the same 501c3, you could manage your funds separately and be completely independent. So team X, Y, and Z could all have the same 501c3 nonprofit, but have completely different funds. So, team X might raise $10,000 in a year, and team Y might only raise 200. So, I mean, just because you guys are part of the same nonprofit doesn't mean that you guys have to go as a group that, hey, we are this nonprofit and we are looking for funds. No, it can just be that we're a team, part of this nonprofit, but we're this team and we're looking for money. So my personal recommendation is go as separate teams because that builds your own separate names and your own separate uh, like authorities in the community, I guess. So yeah. How do you guys spend all the money you earn? Okay, so again, there is always a need for money. So we spend some of the money, like we were granted, I think we were granted $7,500 from a city government and we use that money to donate it back to the schools, and we helped start four FTC, two FTC and two FLL teams through that. So again, keep in mind that you could do bigger things by collecting money. You could give that back you can donate that money to nonprofits, and you could start fundraising towards sponsoring an innovation lab at a school, or you could help buy a certain underprivileged school some cool technology, stuff like that. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff. But again, funds, I think on average, teams spend around $2,000 to $3,000 just on robot parts. I mean, that's just my estimate based on the teams that I know. But you're spending so much money on just parts, and then you also have tournament registration, hotel costs if you want to do like team dinners, team like bonding activities, stuff like that. So I think it all adds up. It really does. Like you need to buy banners for your team when you can upgrade and buy more professional ways of making better trifolds and stuff like that. So again, you can grow a lot that way too. How much money you spend every season, and do you have a goal of how much money you need each year? So our team, again, we spent a lot of money on donations, and just we roll over some of our funds for next year. So I think from last year we had $2,000 roll over into Skystone. So in Skystone we already had a good head start, but with all our fundraising we were able to raise another like $20,000 or so dollars, and we were able to give a lot of that back to our community, and also spent a lot of that money on our own robot parts and upgrading to cool features with more advanced trifold board making softwares and just a lot of things like that, so we can upgrade and elevate our game as a team when going for awards at competitions, stuff like that. So do you have a goal of how much money you need each year? I mean, it's always good to document one that our goal is to raise X amount of money, that and plan in advance that we're planning on spending $2,000 for the CNC machine, $5,000 for this laser cutting machine. We want another $2,000 for robot parts. We need another $1,000 for other tournament registration and other costs. So I mean, it's good to have that plan that we're going to spend all this money on this things. And if we don't get enough money, we're not going to buy a laser cutting machine. We're not going to buy a CNC machine, and we're just going to stick with the other $3,000 worth of things. But so we keep like a goal in mind, and we know that we want at least this much money this year, so we sort of shoot after that. But I mean, once we reach that number, or if we do, we still keep going. Like there's fundraising is year round. Great job on the presentation and sharing your knowledge. It's very informative. Oh, I'm glad. Awesome work on your 3D mask. I read your article on WTOP. Thank you. Hey, thanks. Yeah. So that is my presentation on fundraising. I don't see any more questions. So again, there will be a feedback link, a feedback form going out into the chat pretty soon. Or I mean, it was sent earlier on too. But yeah, please feel free to give any feedback you have and help me improve as a presenter and our team. If you guys have any advice or tips for our future presentations, we did run this presentation at some of our local kickoff events and everything. So again, we're looking to improve so we can do better next year and for years to come. Thank you all for attending. One last thing is, if you guys want to contact me, our team, I can drop the team email in the chat. So our team email is extremevoltage1055@gmail.com. So if you have any questions about what I presented today, you can reach me there, and I can help answer any questions you guys have. And if you guys have a specific case in which and you're having trouble fundraising or anything, again, reach out and I'd love to help. So yeah, I hope this presentation was helpful for you all, and thanks for the opportunity to letting me present first online. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more sessions in the future. Thanks, guys.